Hello YouTube, and welcome to my Arma 3 basic helicopter tutorial. And in this video, I'm only going to go over basic takeoff and landing. And before I get into it, if you're using a flight stick like I am, I'm using the SATEC X52. If you're using a flight stick, you want to make sure that your flight stick is properly mapped under helicopter movement. I won't go into depth in mapping it, how to map your flight stick, but the one thing that I will highlight is that when you're mapping your flight stick, defaulted keys will be mapped to collective raise and collective lower. But for your throttle on your flight stick, you'll want to map that to collective raise analog and collective raise lower analog. Otherwise, if you map your flight stick to default setting, you will either be at 100% increase or 100% decrease. There is no in between, so use analog. The next thing I want to mention before starting is if you don't have track IR, which I do not, the next best thing you can do is widen your field of view. I won't get into detail on how to do that, but I found what works best for me is 105 degree field of view, as opposed to the default 70. So now getting into it, once you're in your helicopter, I'm in the editor by the way, so go ahead, get in the editor, throw yourself in a helicopter, preferably in an open space, wherever you like. But once you're in the helicopter, go ahead and get yourself off the ground. And if you're completely new, let's say this is let's do this as an absolute beginner's guide. So, once you're off the ground, pick a direction, start gently flying in that direction, and just practice flaring backwards to lose your speed. So bleed all your speed so you come to a stop. Pick another direction, start moving forwards, flare backwards. And just practice the motions. Just get used to moving forward, stopping, moving sideways and stopping, whatever. Then once you're used, you practice strafing right if you want. Stop, just get used to these motions. And I do recommend practicing these with the Hummingbird. The reason for that is it's because the Hummingbird is actually the most responsive helicopter in Arma 3, or at least vanilla Arma 3. So go ahead and move around a bit, get used to the motions of the helicopter, get used to being in forward flight and coming to a stop. Once you're used to that, go ahead and come to a stop and just practice gently, ever so gently, putting yourself down on the ground. You don't want to land too hard because you can either damage parts of the helicopter or blow up the helicopter completely. So get some speed, flare back, decrease your thrust as you're flaring backwards so you don't increase your altitude while you're flaring. And you'll also start, once you've lost your speed, you'll also start decreasing altitude naturally as you're decreasing thrust while you flare. So go ahead and practice this for a little bit. Get up to speed. Once again, this is after you're used to the motions of the helicopter. So decrease thrust while you're flaring backwards. Go ahead and decrease your thrust gently and touch down as easy as you can. Not too slowly though, you don't want to take forever to get to the ground. So go ahead, fly around. You don't have to pick an LZ specifically quite yet, just practice getting used to your forward motion and bleeding your speed. Come to a stop and touch down gently. So let's put that into practice. So we'll go ahead and go on the map. And I like to use the contour map texture, which allows me to see the contours, so the different altitudes. So as you can see, these lines are, well, they circle the terrain as it increases. You can see this is a higher terrain than this terrain. The reason I like to do that is because I can see, I'm flying through these things, so I can see where I can be higher and where I can be lower. So I'll pick LZ in the open. And I like to use a GPS for flying. You can find that controls default, I think it's right control M. I have mine mapped to my flight stick. But we'll go ahead and get in the air, get up to speed to head over to this LZ that we picked. And the reason I like to use the GPS is because I can see things on the map, like hostiles if they've been spotted and highlighted on the map. You'll also see allies. And it's good for when you're flying with other pilots, you'll see if you're near another pilot so you can avoid collisions. So I like to fly with my GPS always on. So we're at a good distance now where it's a good time to start bleeding your speed, and as you bleed your speed, flare backwards. Decrease your thrust so that you're not gaining altitude while you flare back. Okay, we come in, slow down a little too early, but that's okay. You don't want to overshoot your LZ. And as you approach your LZ, practice coming in low, because you don't want to come in at a high altitude, because it'll take, the higher you come in, the longer it will take to touch down. So go ahead and flare backwards a little bit, bleed some more speed. Back ever so gently, just go down on your decrease your thrust so that you come down gently. You don't want to touch the ground too hard, so just practice getting up to speed. Practice with the waypoint. I recommend practicing with the waypoint so you get a better feel for when to start bleeding your speed for your approach, because you don't want to overshoot. So let's say I bleed my speed too late, so I'll try to come in fast and see what happens if I don't bleed my speed early. So I'll miss my mark completely because I'll start bleeding now. You can see we've gone way past that mark that we want. That's why you want to start bleeding. It's better to bleed early than late. Decrease your speed early than late. Let's try. And that was, I overshot that. I decreased my thrust while flaring, and I overshot it. But let's try not decreasing thrust while flaring backwards up to speed and see what happens. So now we're going too fast. Start flaring. Now watch all this altitude that we've gained. Now it takes too long to get to the ground. So you don't want to land like this. This is a bad approach. The reason this is bad, you don't want to come in landing high like that, because the longer you're in the air, the higher you are, the longer you'll be a target, the more visible you'll be. So let's go ahead and pick another LZ. Let's just make the base. Head back that way. There are different modes of flight as well. Just fly at an altitude you're comfortable at. Don't try to fly too low or get too fancy until you get comfortable with the helicopter that you're flying. And there are some tricks you can use to bleed your speed closer to your LZ rather than bleeding your speed further away. I'll show you that in a second here. Let me do a normal approach. So this is your straight on approaching 12 o'clock, let's say, because the LZ I want to land at is at my 12 o'clock. So start bleeding speed. I did it a little late. It's not too bad. The thing that you don't want to do is overshoot it. So that was a little sloppy. I came in a little high, but it's not too bad. And if you're in an open area like this, you don't have to worry about being precise with where you land. You can land anywhere near the general area that you want to land. So let's say you want to get in somewhere. Let's say you want to get in somewhere fast. So let's go ahead and put an LZ. I don't know. Let's put it here. That way, the reason I'm putting it at this distance is because I want to be able to get up to speed. Practice your 12 o'clock approaches first, though. Get used to bleeding your speed early before your LZ so that you don't overshoot. Then practice coming in at a low altitude. Because the higher you come in, the more visible you are for hostiles, and the higher you are, the longer it takes to get to the ground, which means you'll be a target for a longer period of time. So now, because I want to come in to this LZ with speed, I'm actually not going to aim for it until I'm ready to bleed my speed. So we'll say wait until this LZ is at our 9 o'clock state. And this is something that you have to practice and get used to feeling for yourself. So I want to come into this fast, so I'm going to drop my altitude and turn hard. And there goes all my speed. Now all my speed's gone, and I can come down nice and safe, nice and easy. Now just bring it in as you normally would. Touch down gently. And that is probably one of the quickest approaches you can do. Let's try another one. Let's try over here. And it's best to practice all of these in as many open places as you can. So we'll go this way. We'll get up to speed. You don't have to head directly towards your marker. But it's good to practice with these markers so you get used to knowing the distances at when you need to start bleeding your speed. So we'll go ahead and get up to speed. Again, you're not aiming for this mark quite yet because of the hook you're going to make to come back. If I aimed for it and then hooked, I would miss it completely. So you want to try to aim it so that when you do hook back, you end up at least near your chosen LZ. So bank hard, thrust down, bank hard. Okay, that one was, I came in a little bit high, but that's okay. It's not going to take forever to get to the ground. So bring it gently. You can practice. I do recommend practicing this with markers so you get used to knowing the distance when you do need to slow down, beat your speed, or hook back. But you can practice it without as well. It's good to have a little bit of variety. It's good to be able to adjust as the situations change. So you can also practice without a marker in case the situation changes on you in a realistic combat situation. Just practice flying around and choose a spot. It's good to be able to adapt to your surroundings, so go ahead and practice that, getting up to speed and hooking back. So get up to speed again and try it again. We're actually going to go for this marker again, that one place. Ready? So again, don't aim for your marker when you're coming in fast. Aim to the side of it so that you can hook back. Hopefully, you'll be close to it once you've hooked back. And when you're turning, doing your hook to lose all your speed, decrease your thrust, but be ready to increase it again so you don't just fall straight to the ground once you've lost all your speed. Because once you lose your speed and you're decreasing your thrust, you will start decreasing your altitude as well. So we'll go ahead, fly back to base. We've kind of wandered a good distance, but it's okay. Fly at an altitude that you're comfortable with. And it does take quite a bit of practice, so don't get frustrated if you're not getting the hang of it right away. It does take hours for some types of flying. But the first thing that you want to practice is approaching your LZ at 0 degrees, meaning you want to approach your LZ as straight on as possible. I'm going a little fast, so I'm going to start bleeding my speed. And decrease my altitude, so while you're decreasing your speed, while you're bleeding speed, gradually decrease your altitude so that you come in at a good angle. And don't worry about slowing down too much. You can always pitch forward and pick up a little more speed until you get closer. So this is a good speed, and because this is so open, this is a good altitude to come in at. So let's go ahead and fly back and bring it down gently. And that's my tutorial. I'll make more in-depth videos as I go along, but this is the basics, and thanks for watching.